A lot of people fear that this is actually a trap being laid by Theresa May, trapping Corbyn, trapping Labour Party into effectively being tied to getting their hands dirtied, maybe even bloodied by a Tory Brexit, as Jeremy Corbyn has always said he doesn't want to be involved with. You'll end up taking responsibility. The idea is to share the blame around, so it's not just the Tories who are punished by the electorate, as I'm sure they will be next time round. Is that a trap that Jeremy Corbyn should fall into, or realistically should he pretend to go through the talks, go through the motions, fear alas we can't come to some agreement because she's so intransigent, everyone's going to believe that, and then he can walk away with his hands clean? Wouldn't that be the best thing for Jeremy Corbyn to do?
Well, I think I think people are looking to all our politicians to really genuinely to stand up for the national interest, and I think that look, he's absolutely 100% aware that it's a trap, or it's potentially a trap. And it was an obvious trap, because if it was actually a serious piece of grown-up government, she'd have told them in advance what she was going to say when she stood in the the briefing the other night. So I think it is a trap. However, I think it's a potential trap, but which also gives him this massive opportunity on two levels. One, the ability to ask for those three things: no to no deal, long extension, and people's vote attached to any outcome. But also, it's very, very hard now for Theresa May to keep banging on about Jeremy Corbyn being unfit to Prime Minister when she's basically asking to help her do the job.
She's sitting on the sofa with it looks like it was in checkers in a wood-panelled room, and basically going over the heads of MPs to defend her Brexit talks with Labour. And there was a lot of in sorrow, not in anger. What did you make of her broadcast?
It was a last-ditch attempt to pretend that she's still Prime Minister. I mean, everyone knows that she's now Prime Minister in name only. She's got no authority. She's got no strategy. This week, I mean, what she manages to do all the way through, as you and I, Julia, have discussed now month after month, is she manages to make herself unviable on all sides. She's got to deal with you and the people who wanted to leave think is completely unworkable and a betrayal of the referendum. But she's got one that I think isn't worth the candle for leaving anyway. If you're going to give the EU 39 billion for less good trade terms than we've got at the moment, you're much better off keeping the money and staying in the EU.
Or giving it to Latvia or Estonia.
Yeah, I'm not wildly keen on that idea. I'd much prefer that we kept the 39 billion ourselves and spent it on the NHS and the failing transport system. So at the moment there's a complete impasse. And what Theresa May always does in any situation is to make the worst move possible.
This is actually a fair analysis. Andrew, I'm alarmed by how much myself as a Leaver, I'm finding myself in agreement with you. But this is the thing, isn't it? The country almost seems to be unanimous. The politicians and the selectorate, the media class, unanimous about how badly she's handling this. And yet, keep seeing polls showing that an awful lot of people are saying, "Oh, just do the deal. We don't care anymore. Just do the deal."
Yeah, but let's understand why she's now made the worst move possible, because the significant thing that she's done in the last 3 days isn't that peculiar broadcast from Chequers. It was writing to the European Council on Friday asking for a 3-month extension. Now, a 3-month extension is crazy, because for people who want to leave the EU on WTO terms, the right thing to do is to leave now. I mean, another 3-month extension just spins out the agony and also makes it less likely ultimately we'll leave. But for people like me who say that the right thing, which is, and I think the only alternative course now, which is to have a referendum with an option to remain.
I've been criticising the Prime Minister for entering into negotiations with a Marxist, which is what Jeremy Corbyn is. I believe it would be a disaster for this country if he became our Prime Minister. So I've got to be consistent. I can't, on the one hand, call this man a Marxist, which he is, say that he presides over a party which is riven with anti-Semitism, which he does, and then blithely traipse through the division lobbies behind him.
What is the plan for Tory leavers?
Well, firstly, on the point about Theresa May, Sir Graham Brady, who's the chairman of the 1922 committee, said last Wednesday at the committee, I was there, if MPs were unhappy with the Prime Minister's leadership, they could still write letters to him to complain about it. And I don't know how many letters he's got, but I do know that quite a lot of letters went into him yesterday. And what a lot of us are pushing for is to have an unofficial vote of confidence in the Prime Minister on the basis that she's now entered into negotiations with a Marxist, which is something that if you told us she would do a few months ago, I don't think any of us would ever have believed it. I mean, the Tory party is up in arms about this. If you talk to our council candidates who are out on the doorstep, they're up in arms about it. If you talk to our sort of ordinary party members, they're up in arms about it. And lots of Tory MPs are up in arms about it.
The thing is, Priti, I couldn't care less what Theresa May, what consequences she suffers. But I do care about what the country suffers and what our democracy suffers.
But that's not going to deliver Brexit. That is not going to deliver the Brexit that she had originally said. That will tie us into the institutions of the EU, and the British public, again, will be wondering with staggering bewilderment, well, I thought we'd left the EU, and here we are, sort of paying money into them, stuck into their laws, etc.
Well, let's look at if we do end up her getting a deal, then maybe we may leave in a couple of weeks' time. But realistically, everyone's expecting there won't be a deal. She'll have to go cap in hand to the other EU 27 and to Brussels. She's going to they're going to offer her a long extension because they don't want to have to be back every 2 weeks trying to deal with this crisis. In which case, we are then into the European elections. How do you think the Conservatives are going to fare at the European elections, or indeed at the local elections on 2nd of May?
Well, I think the major political parties will do very badly, including the Conservative Party. And this was the point I was going to make. I mean, in terms of democracy and the standing of democracy, the British public are just absolutely... And, I have local elections myself. I mean, I go out in my own constituency, and what I hear is not all that complimentary, it's fair to say. People are losing their faith in the political process and in political parties because they're seeing, basically, that their vote counted for nothing because of the way MPs are behaving over Brexit and actually the way in which the governing party is behaving too. So the consequentials are going to be significant. And that, of course, makes it very hard, I think, for all political parties, all politicians, to rebuild trust and faith in politics and politicians and the political process. And that'll be the consequentials of all of this. So this is a difficult time. But ultimately, it does not mean that we should just, suck up and just agree to anything, irrespective of the implications for our great country. We should be believing in Britain, believing in the British public and in our democracy, and actually working incredibly hard to deliver it and not circumvent it.
We are giving a huge chance and opportunity for new parties, new Leave parties to pop up and create competition for us. And then, of course, further down the road, you're going to have a general election at some stage where I can tell you there is absolute fury on the part of Conservative voters, members and donors.
But Owen, it's all very well this concern about the Tory party and how unhappy councillors are and local party members. But the vast majority of people in this country, whether they vote Tory or Labour or Lib Dem or anything, don't care about the internal Tory machinations. I couldn't give two hoots, but I do care about a democratic vote being delivered. What are Tory MPs who are unhappy about this? What are they going to do about it? Because it's all very well. We've got, for instance, half of the cabinet are Leave voters. When are they going to resign and say, that's it, we're done? That would put pressure on the Prime Minister. Everyone is sitting there waiting while Brexit is destroyed, while the reputation of our country is destroyed. And Leave voters, Leave MPs are wringing their hands going, oh, isn't this awful? Wouldn't it be nice if we left on Friday? But what are you going to do about it?
Well, I've just done exactly that today. I've stuck my neck out and said very clearly that we should stick to the current law. We should leave on Friday. That will lift the economy. That's
an opinion. That doesn't actually do anything. I mean, for instance, why don't Tory Leave MPs tell Labour we are quite happy to vote in no confidence against this government to bring this government down? Why don't they do that for the good of the country? And let's put it to the people. Let's have a general election. Let's put it to the people.
Now, I think the last thing we want is a general election. Now, they're absolutely fed up with the politics. People are completely sick to death of this wrangle going on. They just want us to leave. That is a very, very clear message.
But we're not going to leave under this Prime Minister.
Yeah, so I say very clear in my answer that she should move aside. And
she won't move aside, so then what?
Well, you saw that the members of the 22 committee, that's the senior Tory politicians, went to see the Prime Minister yesterday. There will be more letters going in, and the saga carries on. And this is all bad for the country.
The psychic Uri Geller has said he wants to use all of his powers to convince Theresa May telepathically to halt Brexit and keep us inside the EU. Right, I will not allow you to lead Britain into Brexit. Believe me, I am capable of executing it. Before I take this drastic action, I appeal to you to stop the process immediately while you have a chance. Well, turns out he's already started acting, because yesterday, when the House of Commons had to be suspended due to a water leak in the chamber, water pouring onto those green benches, Uri Geller tweeted, "Yes, I did it, House of Commons. I bent the pipes and I won't apologise. You all deserve it." Well, Uri Geller joins us now. Good morning to you.
Hi, Julia. Thank you very much from very beautiful, sunny Old Jaffa in Israel. And, you know, Julia, to those skeptics who are scoffing now and saying, oh, come on, of course, well, he would say that. He can't do that, really. I'm opening now the CIA manual, CIA, Central Intelligence Agency.
Yes.
And let me just read out of the manual what they say about my powers.
All right.
This is what the CIA concluded. As a result of Geller's success in this experimental period, we consider that he has demonstrated his paranormal perceptual ability in a convincing and unambiguous manner. This has been directly CIA, quote, there is MI5, there is Mossad, etc.,
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Uri Geller, and I must point out, you're in Israel, you are a naturalised Brit, though, spend a lot of your time here. If you wanted to really convince us you were able to affect the real world in this way, wouldn't it be more convincing if you had tweeted out, I'm currently bending the pipes in the House of Commons, in about an hour, all of the water's going to start pouring into the Commons chamber, and then you'd have predicted it by the fact that you were actually doing it. How come you only told us afterwards?
Okay, first of all, Julia, you haven't read the letter I sent the Daily Telegraph. Please read it, because I sent the letter before I bent the pipes. Of course, I didn't say it because I might have not succeeded. You know, I'm very. But
hold on a minute. Wait a minute. You have less confidence in your ability than many other people do, then.
I believe in my powers, and I focused on the pipe. And if you will allow me, let me tell you the chronology of how it happened. And this is all verifiable, because today when you film with your iPhone, the time appears on the screen. Mm-hmm. In the morning, I had a leak in my pipe in my coffee shop that is attached to my museum, the Uri Geller Museum in Old Jaffa. I went down there with workers. They removed the stone, and we found the leak. And then I said, wow, this is great. I'm going to bend a pipe in the Parliament to show my ability.
And you've got all that on you had that on your phone and timed?
Of course, I'll email it to you. I'll
tweet it out right now, and we can all verify.
Okay. Actually, that's a good idea. I can't tweet it out right now because there is a Scottish school down the street waiting for my performance.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'll look forward.
I'll look
forward to seeing it. Yuri, though, can we get back to the matter in hand? Why are you so opposed to Brexit, and why do you think that it would be right for you, if you do have these paranormal powers, to use them against the democratically elected Prime Minister?
Okay, let me tell you why. First of all, I care about the young people in the UK. Leaving the EU will be catastrophic. The pound will fall. There will be economic chaos. UK will totally be isolated, not only from Europe, but from the whole world, and a deep recession will take over. That's why I care. I care about the young people in the UK. People, when we voted first, we were misled. People were misled.
But Uri, even if you take that view, why should you use your paranormal powers over and above your right to vote, which the rest of us also have?
But hold on. I'm not saying to revoke Article 50 because that is denting democracy. But there are so many millions of people who voted to remain. So let's give them a second referendum. People were misled the first vote. They were lied to that NHS will get billions, that the UK will prosper.
But Uri, I don't want to rehash those
for.
Arguments again and again. What I'm saying is that you are saying that you will not allow the Prime Minister to lead Britain into Brexit. But I'm saying that you want to use your paranormal powers to basically change the democratic vote and the behaviour of a Democratic Prime Minister. Now, I don't approve of the way that the Prime Minister's handled Brexit. I don't like what's happening in the House of Commons right now. But I got one vote. Everyone else has got one vote. It seems to me that's how we should decide things. But you want to use your paranormal powers. Isn't that a bit of an unfair advantage?
Look, Julia, I have to admit you might have a point. It goes back, for instance, I'll give you an example. When England played Scotland in Euro 96, some very important people were concerned that maybe Scotland will beat England. So they put me in a helicopter. I circled around Wembley, and suddenly I heard in my headphones that Scottish striker Gary McAllister gets a penalty. He puts the ball down. I scream in the helicopter, 1, 2, 3, move, and the ball moved away from his foot. The BBC filmed it with enough cameras, and he missed, and England won. That is interfering tangibly with a match.
I mean, if that isn't proof, I don't know what people are looking for. Are you going to single-handedly stop Brexit then? Just finally, Uri.
Of course I can't. I can only do that with the help of the people in UK. So this is why I'm concentrating every day at 11:11 in the morning, 11:11 at night, and hopefully the UK... Look, I have received 28,000 emails up to today. Yes, go to Twitter and look what's happening. I mean...
I'm not quite sure what that proves.
This is amazing what this has become. I think, I think I'm drawing attention for the whole thing because it's so bizarre and it's so freaky.
Yuri, I mean, until you got involved, barely anyone was even mentioning Brexit, so you have done a deed there. Uri Geller, spoon bender and indeed pipe bender, live there from Israel. I'll let you go off to that trip to the school there. Uri Geller, thank you very much indeed.